welcome back to the Elle-Sera podcast with today's host, yours truly, it's Kelly. Today we have Katy Cottam. She is the CEO and founder of Luna Daily, and she's a woman on a mission to talk all things womanhood. I'm thrilled to have her here, and I can't wait to hear all of the wonderful things that Luna Daily has coming up in the future. So without further ado, welcome, Katy.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's wonderful to be here.
Did you like that introduction?
Loved it.
The woman on a mission about womanhood.
Yeah,
That
great.
is you, though. That's your tagline. It's got to be. Absolutely love the work that you're doing with the Luna Daily. We work together as part of the Gen M collective that I'm sure we'll touch on in a little while. But there'll be people out there that maybe don't know who you are yet, and we want to change that. So, Katy, tell us everything.
Where to begin? Well, I suppose the inception of Luna Daily and my own personal experiences, both professionally and personally, are inherently symbiotically linked. And so I suppose it does make sense to start with a bit of my background.
Mm-hmm.
So most of my career has been in the beauty wellness space. So I started out at L'Oreal, and then most recently I was global head of brand at Charlotte Tilbury. So lots of experience in, product development, brand positioning, marketing for big brands like Maybelline and L'Oréal Paris, and then not so big, but fairly big at the time, Charlotte Tilbury. But I also spent 4 years at a plant-based food company called Bowl Foods, which was a spin-off of Innocent Drinks. I know you've obviously had Sam from Gen M, ex-Innocent Alumni on here. And if L'Oréal and Charlotte Tilbury were my beauty wellness experience, Bowl Foods was my how you run a business experience. It was night and day from what I'd experienced before. It was me and 4 other blokes. I was the first non-Innocent member, in this little studio in Notting Hill. And honestly, that was my how you run a business experience. But the idea for Luna Daily actually came well before my career. So I was 19 and I'd been studying in India on a study abroad program. And I came back to the UK and I was really unwell. And I was put in a course of antibiotics for 6 weeks. So speaking to the converted, I'm sure here, but the impact that antibiotics can have on our system is, well, for me personally, was profound. It fundamentally changed my skin microbiome. It fundamentally changed my skin microbiome and my gut microbiome. From that moment onwards, I wasn't able to use traditional body care products to care for my intimate skin. But I really resented that the only products available to me were these niche use, synthetic, but more importantly, highly stigmatized, highly embarrassing products, which still for the most part sit in this category called the feminine hygiene category. Yeah. Deep-rooted shame, stigma. I got for the first time thrush, yeast infection. I'd never had one before. And I can still today remember the feelings of shame, embarrassment, confusion. And ever since then, I've thought this is a really underserving category for women. And if you fast forward, 15 years in my career in the beauty wellness space, pretty much every other category has seen phenomenal innovation, whether we talk about period care or menopause. But this category, not a lot has happened. The same incumbent brands exist. And it was pandemic 1 that I just had a moment where I was like, life is short. There is never going to be a good time to go and do something. And if I don't go and give this a go, I'm going to live with more regret than not. So I quit my job at Charlotte Tilbury in the first pandemic.
Very brave.
I think everybody thought I was mad, and decided to go and set up Luna Daily. So in a nutshell, our strapline is head, vulva, knees and toes. Microbiome balancing body care for all your skin, even your most intimate. So first and foremost, I see us as a body care brand. We're not a femme hygiene brand. We're not an intimate care brand. We're a body care brand that happens to be suitable for intimate skin as well. And we cater for women of all ages, stages and skin types. So from kind of daily care through motherhood, through menopause. And alongside my big product vision, because fundamentally there is a huge lack of products available for women, particularly those key life stages. I'm really passionate about normalizing the conversation and trying to help revolutionize education. From a personal perspective, if I was to put it in one line, it's that I want less people to feel like I did when I was 19 and more people to feel like I do now, kind of free from the shackles of shame and embarrassment. As you can probably tell, I now have no issue saying the word vulva. I have no issue.
You say it so eloquently. I feel like when I say it in my northern accent, it sounds like something off an episode of Sex Education.
Go on, give it a go.
Vulva.
Nah, it's great. I love it.
It's got a real ring
to intonation.
Vulva. See how many times we can say it. Should have a drink for every time we say it. No, I'll interject. I absolutely love your recent campaign. It's all of the which ways that we refer to our nether regions. I've just done it. It's almost like you can't say my vagina. I've had to really learn that saying the word vagina is absolutely fine. It's absolutely okay. And it needs to be said more, especially when you're talking to ladies that are experiencing menopausal symptoms of vaginal dryness, and they are trying to tell you that without saying the key word. Some of the ones that came out were absolutely brilliant. What did you used to refer to yours as?
Growing up, I think I was taught it was my front bottom. And actually then as an adult, for years, I just called it all my vagina. And actually there's a real issue with that. And I'll come on to a bit more about the research we conducted that sort of underpinned the brand, but also kind of convinced me to quit my job. It wasn't quite as slapdash as let's just quit my job. We did a pretty big pioneering piece of research that confirmed it wasn't just me that felt the way I did. But one of the things that came out of it, that honestly, I feel like if people take nothing away from this, it's that the vulva and the vagina are different and they are not the same thing. And growing up, I just called it my vagina. Very simply, the vagina is the internal part of the female anatomy and the vulva is the external part. So very different. The vagina is phenomenal. It is self-cleaning completely. So you never need to put any products, including water, inside the vagina. And the vulva is your external skin. It's very similar to the skin under your armpits. It's why typically we grow hair under our arms and on our vulvas. But it's just skin. And it's totally fine to cleanse. If you want to cleanse it, with water, if you want to use nothing, or if you want to use products, you probably should be using pH balanced gentle products, which again, we can come on to. But fundamentally, your vulva is just skin. And so, I get frustrated that this industry, the feminine hygiene industry, has marketed to women for years, that you need specific products for your vulva, and making women feel that, there is something wrong if they have odour, that is often very normal. So I get really frustrated at that industry, but I also get really frustrated at the lack of education, because the word vulva wasn't even in my vernacular until a few years ago. And there's a real issue with us not using anatomically correct language. When we don't use certain language, anatomically correct language, and if we don't see vulvas or we don't say the word vulvas, then unfortunately misinformation fills in those education gaps. And it means that there's deep-rooted shame and stigma. There's misinformation about what is normal. Even, 1 in 3 women are still washing inside the vagina, despite it being self-cleaning. 1 in 3 women. And 43% of women's washing routines have caused them to have a gynae issue. Nearly every gynecological issue is on the rise and at all-time high. And it's something that could be prevented. And so I'm really passionate about normalizing the conversation. The whole ethos of head, vulva, knees and toes is that it should just be as normal as any other body part. So that's a big part of my mission.
And it should be discussed as freely as well. Yeah. You're getting there. I mean, your ads are served to us all the time. And I do. I think they're brilliant. And you're so right. You start that conversation of, well, what did you call yours? And then that's the conversation starter. Oh, I refer to it as this. Oh, yeah, but it's more than just the one thing. No. Yeah. Do tell. We've all had that epiphany moment where we've gone, wow, I didn't know that. I have those epiphany moments pretty much every day at Elle-Sera. Women are so complex. We said it before we started this conversation. No woman to me is ever the same. Every time I have a conversation with somebody, it's a different conversation. There's a different issue that needs to be raised. There's a different backstory. Your backstory that you touched on there, that awful experience of thrush, the first instance of thrush. Because we aren't told, get told as a child, if you want to prevent getting a cold, these are the things that you do. If you want to not pass on a cough, these are the things that you do. But it's never mentioned of this could happen. And these are the reasons why. You're not vulgar. You're not minging. You're not any of these things. Yeah. It's very, very normal. It's a natural occurrence and it can be dealt with by one of, many different ways. So you had that in that feeling, that sensation of the shame in your youth. It's now come up into your adult life. You've taken a positive from that, you've spun it, and you're trying to make sure that no other younger girls feel that anymore. And I love that.
Thank you.
So, very exciting times are ahead. You've come to Liverpool today and you have just visited somewhere, and I want you to tell us where you visited, because I think it's great.
So we've just announced a partnership with Boots. So we're rolling out across the country in 480 Boots stores. And we actually won the listing first and foremost through winning kind of a Dragon's Den style Meet the Buyer pitch. So I think over 100 brands pitched, and we were one of 3 that was awarded the partnership. And then we've now secured a much bigger rollout. So yeah, 480 boots across the country. And it's such a proud moment for me because both personally and professionally, like so many women I'm sure that are listening to this, we've all grown up with boots. You know, it was the place I went to get my first tampons. It was the place I went to buy Dream Up Mousse foundation, probably in the wrong shade. And
the shade of orange, that lovely line.
And probably also to rub on my lips. And so now it's the place that before a girls' holiday, I'll do a mad airport dash. And so, from a personal perspective, Boots has been such a part of my womanhood experience. Professionally, it was my first ever job at L'Oreal. I was on the category team and so was visiting Boots head office every week. And so being stood there pitching felt so special and felt so full circle. But also for this category specifically, and categories where there is still taboo, I believe retailers have such an important role to play in normalising conversations, partly through, their platform. They have millions of women who trust Boots and want to, actually stay with Boots through life, from very early stage, like I've talked through, all the way, through menopause and beyond. Also through adjacencies, you can now find these products, not just, our products are not just going to be listed within intimate health, but they're also in a new hormonal health category. If you go onto boots.com, if you type in body wash, we appear. And so it's so important to help change the conversation, having retailers like Boots, as partners. And, they are the biggest, best beauty retailer in the UK. And so it's an honour to be launching there next week. So yeah, on the way here. So we haven't actually launched into the Liverpool store because it launches next week. But I just wanted to pop in, and whenever I go near a Boots that I know we're going to be in, I'll pop in and meet the team, because ultimately the team on the ground are the people that ultimately are an extension of my brand. They're an extension of my brand. They're the people that are going to be, being on the first consumer touch point, when a customer goes into that store. So yeah, I don't think it will ever get old for me going and seeing my brand, my product on shelf.
Oh, it's very exciting. And it's nice that you've been able to kind of get that little trip to Boots in while you've been here as well. Great store as well. And
Beautiful.
they're just about to go through renovation too.
Yeah,
so it's only going to be bigger and better. So very much like Elle-Sera, we are both very proudly using the M-Tick. It is the Gen M M-Tick. It's supporting all of the menopause-friendly products across the collective. What is it that makes Luna Daily an M-Tick-friendly product?
Great question. So I suppose when thinking about developing the Luna Daily range, the first thing I wanted to do was to cater for all ages, stages, skin types, recognising that everybody's womanhood experience is different, and for every woman or a person with a vulva, that their experience will be different. And so it was really important to me that first and foremost, we cater for all skin types. So as well as all of the products being suitable for everywhere on your body, including intimate skin, also suitable for sensitive skin if you're going through hormonal changes. So we have 3 ranges. We have our original range, which is sort of for all skin types. Mm-hmm. We have a fragrance-free range if you're super sensitive or allergy prone. And then we've got a hydrating range, which is for dry, dehydrated or hormonally reactive skin. And that's the range that is really brilliant for perimenopause and menopause. So the first thing when developing the products I wanted to think about was what we were going to not put in the products. Mm-hmm. And actually that's relevant to all of the ranges, whichever of the ranges you pick. So what products were we going to not include? And so we have quite strict ethoses around only naturally necessary ingredients, so nothing that doesn't need to be in there. We have a trademarked base formulation called Thermobiome Plus, and that's made up of thermal spring water, prebiotic, inulin and lactic acid, and vitamins E, C and F. And so they're designed to balance, nourish and protect the skin microbiome. And that idea really came from, we don't just wash other areas of the body. If you wanted to, you could just wash your face with water, but we don't. We like to balance the skin, to protect the skin. And particularly the skin microbiome is a really important factor for all of our skin, not just our intimate skin. But because the intimate skin is closer to the vagina, remember, self-cleaning, never products inside, because it's close to that area, it often means that if you get skin irritations, it's more likely to present itself in your intimate skin. But if I just touch on skin microbiome for a second, kind of one of the ethoses that runs through all of our products is that we're pH balanced. Now, the feminine hygiene industry has tried to tell women that the pH of your vulva, which is the area you can wash if you want to, is different to the rest of your body, and it's not true. All skin is around pH 4 to 5. So if you suffer from things like redness or dryness or skin irritation anywhere on your body, it might be because the products you're using are out of kilter with your natural skin microbiome. So for context, if skin is about 4 or 5, water is 7. Most shampoos are between pH 8 and 10. Soap, traditional soap, which is often in lots of body washes, is pH 12. and bleach is pH 13. So if you're using lots of traditional body products anywhere on your body, not just on your intimate areas, but anywhere, it's likely that they're being pretty harsh to your skin microbiome. And so all of our products are pH balanced. All of our products are all soap free, because by definition, soap is an irritant and, virtually the same pH as bleach, which is fairly terrifying.
That is a new fact that I've learned today.
Yeah.
That's madness.
So have a look at the pH of the products you're using all over your body. I've got friends that have got conditions like eczema and psoriasis, because often alkalinity or acidity of skin can drive those things. So all of us would be better off using pH balanced products all over our body. So that's definitely important for our ranges. And then specifically when formulating our range for perimenopausal or menopausal women, I suppose the first thing is that they're not just for those women at those stage. You can have lots of the same conditions at any stage of your life. Yeah. But I really wanted to have a range of products that could cater to multi-symptom. So not just thinking about dry skin. There are 48 menopausal symptoms. So our products are great for multi-symptom and multifunction. So whether it is dry skin, reduction in estrogen, but also itchiness, you might suffer from more odor. As you said, you might be more susceptible to UTIs. So previously you might have been able to handle a more harsh body wash, but now you can't. Acne, as well as obviously being really nourishing. So as well as the Thermobiome Plus and the hydrating range, we also have added omegas 3 and 6, which are brilliant at retaining moisture in the skin. Then the second thing I wanted to think about was format. So not just for kind of all ages and stages, but all cater to really regimes and to different uses. And so we have body washes, so traditional, wash format. They're actually called the Everywhere Wash to try and help educate that they can be used everywhere. We have a solid no soap bar. So it's the world's first solid format. So it looks like a soap, acts like a soap, but it has no soap in it. And it's clinically proven to be 30% more moisturising than traditional soap. So those are at home in the shower products. We have an everything oil, which is perfect for pre or post shaving. It's also brilliant for ingrown hairs, redness, bumps. So it's great for intimate skin, but I also use it on my elbows, my cuticles. Great if you've got vulval dryness. And then my personal favourite product is our spray to wipe. And so the insight for this product was that we could see women really wanted to cleanse on the go. After the gym, if you're on your period, if you're suffering with night sweats or hot flushes. But we just didn't want to sign up to the negative impact of single-use wipes. They're one of the most washed up items on beaches. I think there's 11 billion that end up in landfill every year in the UK alone. And so the spray to wipe is an innovation where you spray it directly onto skin or a piece of toilet tissue, and it turns it into an instant flushable, biodegradable wipe. So one bottle is the equivalent to 300 wipes, and it's amazing to have like in your handbag, in your gym bag. I have one in all of my bags. And I think the final thing that I was really passionate about when developing the ranges was that the tension, the beautiful tension between kind of efficacy, medical backed products by the Luna Daily Collective, which is a panel of medical experts, amazing women that we work with, but also really enjoyable and like products that you'd want to have out in the shower just because they're beautiful. So many of these products are hidden inside cupboards, and that drives the shame and the embarrassment. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted them to be like beautiful products that you want to have out. And so I really hope that in the range we've delivered those two things, that they really, really work. But they're also really enjoyable to use. Like you want to use them. They're beautifully designed. The formulas are so luxurious and beautiful. So hopefully that's what we've developed in the range so far.
I love how we align as brands because everything that you have said is totally mirrored at Elle-Sera. Yeah. The sustainability in mind comes from Alyssa being on Bear Grylls, the island, seeing what flushed up on beaches. She said she could have a different toothbrush every day of the week if she wanted to. There was Crocs, there was all kinds of stuff flushing up on beaches. Our decanter, we were speaking about it before, the golden decanter. It's not a necessity. You can absolutely just store your supplements in the fully biodegradable, recyclable packaging that we provide them in. But why wouldn't you want to be proud of taking something that's doing you so much good internally, the same way as your products are doing?
Yeah. It reminds me of something you'd find in Aladdin's, that cave that Aladdin goes into.
Yeah,
he's like tempted
Cave
for everything.
Of Wonders.
Yeah, the Cave of Wonders. I love the little, I feel like, as somebody that is notoriously bad at taking my supplements, if I had it in this little gold jar that I think it really just helped, want to take something rather than taking it just because functionally, it might help you.
Yeah, our customers, they send us selfies of them on holiday. I've got here's my decanter on the beach in Bali.
Yeah.
I really want to do a where's my decanter, because I think that the tracking would be mental. It'd be everywhere.
Get some air tags on them all.
Especially, that'd be a great campaign. Especially during the summer months, I was just constantly getting messages from customers with their golden decanter. But it's so right in what you say. We're having to spend money on these products because they're the best thing for us. And so if we're spending the money on them, we want to be proud of the fact that we're using them. And so it does make a hell of a difference when they look good. We're actually aligning on a nice little giveaway soon that's coming up. And I've already noticed that our products look beautiful hand in hand together. So well done us. It's really, really good. So you've got your beautiful M-tick there. You're going into boots. You are also really good when it comes to the educational aspect of things. So it's not just about, producing a product, selling a product. There is real kind of effort behind educating and supporting women, especially when it comes to in the workplace. Can you shed a little bit more light onto that for me?
Well, I think a big part of the research showed that, unfortunately, we're not taught about this at school. So 87% of people were not taught about intimate care at school. My own memory is being taught around maybe I remember being taught about fallopian tubes and ovaries. I remember the tampon lady coming in. I remember the condom lady coming in. But we weren't, and ultimately, I don't remember being taught about anything else, and 87% of women weren't, which is really quite scary. If nowadays the number 2 education platform after education, traditional education is social media, and unfortunately still words like vulva and vagina are some of the most censored words by platforms, social media platforms, which means, as a brand, lots of brands, it means if you try and advertise around vulvas or vaginas, they get blocked.
I'll just interject on that. We have been banned, blocked, restricted on Meta so frequently. Not just recently, it has happened a lot more recently, but throughout my entire journey at Elle-Sera, because of things like adult content. Well, we're not showing anything that's adult in nature. It's just an essential. It's scientific. It's what needs to be out there. We suffer at the hands of censorship every single day, and I assume that you also have problems.
So we haven't actually had any of our ads blocked, but we've had to work very hard to sort of make them in a way that they won't get blocked, which is a shame because lots of our content is not at all explicit, and actually as a brand, I really want to be inclusive. And so kind of for us, our content is deliberately not shocking, because for me, normalizing conversations around vulvas doesn't mean that everybody has to be ready to shout it from the rooftops or to see really graphic content on their social media. It's, it might just be that someone's ready to have a conversation with their mate or their sister. But we were part of a collective of brands that actually campaigned against Meta. So with the Centre for Intimacy of Justice, which is an amazing company in the US.
We were right there with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so obviously you'll know that, we have made headway, that, Meta have changed their guidelines. They've improved to some extent, but there's still some way to go. But I think, building a community of women and people with vulvas on our social platforms, but also where they are talking, so not just on traditional social media, is a really important part of our strategy, because ultimately we need to be where those conversations are happening, in the gym bathrooms, in the antenatal classes, in the coffee shop, when you're hopefully telling a friend about some of your experiences to share them. And so I believe brands have a real responsibility to also, with our platforms, with my own personal platform as a female founder, to try and educate on some stuff that should just be basic information.
Yeah.
But also what you were touching on, Kelly, is sort of how in the workplace we live and breathe. We walk the walk, we talk the talk. Walk the talk? What's the phrase? Walk the walk? Walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
And I'm really, really passionate that I will only run this business if I and my team are the happiest, healthiest versions of themselves. We are not all women, but we are, 70% female owned, and we have a 70% female leadership team, which I'm really proud of. And we over-index in women probably versus, a typical company by nature, of the categories we play in. And living and breathing our external values is really, really, it's the most important thing to me, actually. I've personally experienced burnout. I didn't really understand, if I'm honest, poor mental health until that point. I'm a bit embarrassed to say, but I didn't. And how we can support all people in the workplace, but specifically how we support women is really important to me. So, everything from, we have a women's health policy that supports not just, maternity leave, but everything from endometriosis to abortion, miscarriage, all the way through to perimenopause and menopause. And it's an evolving policy that we work kind of with our team, with our partners on, of how we can basically create an environment for women through the workplace that means that they can be the happiest, healthiest version of themselves and support them. But also just more broadly, how we set up the business to be, a force for good, and that all of my team feel really supported. Everything from mental health to how we work with our partners, how we live and breathe our values internally and externally.
Yeah. Do any of the people on your team suffer with symptoms of things like polycystic ovaries, endometriosis? Is that a reason that you've put those procedures in place, or is that just
It wasn't the reason, if I'm honest. Mm-hmm. The reason was that throughout my career, I've personally, not myself, but I've experienced, people suffering with those things. They are unfortunately very common. And so actually just through my career trajectory, having seen that, I think it's just the right thing to do, rather than specifically it being, to my employees. My employees are all different ages and stages. And so it might be they've not yet experienced something. Yeah. Sam Simister is a great friend and mentor of mine. And it was hearing her story around how perimenopause blindsided her that really made me realise that, gosh, why'd I never ask my mum about it? And why'd she never spoken to me about it? Mm-hmm. And, I only asked my mum about her experience a few years ago. And I felt really guilty that had I been aware of it, I might not have moaned as much when she was asking me to help her change her bed because she had night sweats, or whether she couldn't get out of bed in the morning and wanted a cup of tea because she had insomnia. Mm-hmm. And it really made me realise that normalizing this conversation is not just around, perimenopausal women and menopausal women understanding the menopause, or people getting their first period and their showering routine changing from bath time to shower time, understanding how to care for themselves. It's around intergenerational conversations, because it's around people my age knowing about perimenopause and menopause now, but it's also important that I can support mums, friends, other people, and that I'm not blindsided when I get there. And so I think kind of the intergenerational conversations, I think, are really, really important and a very core thread of our brand.
We just did a fabulous collaboration with Leeds Arts University. They reached out to us a couple of weeks back and they said, actually, one of their head tutors, her mum takes Elle-Sera, and she said, I can see the positive impact it's given my mum. I love the brand, but I think that there is definitely room for improvement when it comes to opening these conversations. Would you be on board? Absolutely. Yeah. What do you need from us? So we worked alongside 20 students at Leeds Arts University, and last week they pitched to us, and their brief was on the basis of not selling products to women or those going through menopause directly, but their partners, their adult children, people within their kind of vicinity, as it were. And it was so lovely to sit there and see a fresh perspective on it. I still like to think I'm young. I'm like 33, but I looked at, these kind of like these teens and early 20s studying, and it was so enlightening to see how they view it. They did a campaign that was based on, we can't guarantee that your mum will be a nicer person, but actually if you sat there and listened to her, very much like what you've just said, if you sat there and listened to the reason that she wants to know what time you're home, it's because, a certain percentage of women will experience heightened anxiety when going through hormonal changes, whether that be perimenopause, earlier, postmenopause. So it's about looking further ahead, and I love that we're aligned on that, and that you've got these things in place. I'm super lucky with Alyssa as an employer. There's only two of us. We're a two-hander, and she's very good to me. I've got my own reams of gynae issues that I'm combating with Elle-Sera and becoming a healthier human, to be honest. But throughout my life, I've really suffered. I mean, I worked overseas and was having to fly back for gynae appointments, and that was like 2 weeks of unpaid work because you weren't we couldn't, it's sick leave, but it's not paid sick leave because, it's only endometriosis. Well, do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Well, no. If my arm had fallen off, or if I'd have broken something, or, if I'd have lost somebody in the family, that they are things that you have compassionate leave for.
Yeah.
But I wasn't granted compassionate leave for having to come home and have Zoladex injections and induce early onset menopause in order to, combat my symptoms at that particular time. So it's a breath of fresh air to see people like you implement these things in workplace. And I really hope that other brands will follow. As I say, Alyssa's super supportive of me. It's like, whatever you need to do, get it done. And that's how we move forward.
And I think that's the thing that needs to change within business, that there's a mindset shift needs to change, that if you fully support your employees, they will be, if they are the happiest, healthiest version of themselves, their productivity will be the best anyway. Yeah. So like there's a real business case, there's a real moral case for it. Most of us work more than we do anything else. Mm-hmm. Most of us spend more time with our employees, our teams, than we do our friends and family. And life's too bloody short to therefore not enjoy it. And a big part of that is supporting your employees through personal stuff as well. And look, we are, I feel right now, we are a full-time team of 7. So we're still relatively small. I probably have the gift of being a bit more flexible. If and when we are 50, 100 employees, we might have to have, more policies in place. Yeah. But right now, I think the whole point of benefit policies is that people benefit from them. And so including the team in them and making sure it's stuff that they want. A great example is, was having a conversation with a couple of my team members who are really interested in egg freezing. One of them said, actually for me personally, it's just not something I could afford. And I was like, well, we could probably help, whether that's through an interest-free loan. So,
incredible.
You just do a payment plan. For us, that's something that's quite accessible to us. Yeah. Why not add it? If it means it helps your employees more. My view is that, start there. We've all worked in businesses probably where you've had these massive benefits policies that you've never actually used. Mm-hmm. And so I really genuinely believe that if you have like the happiest, healthiest team around you, then actually, productivity is higher anyway. And so it only benefits the business.
Absolutely. So you've got a cracking team. It's growing from strength to strength. You are also over in the States as well.
Yeah.
So Sephora, is that right? That was exciting. How did that come about?
So actually Sephora were our first kind of big international retail rollout. So we launched in April of this year. So we're just about 12 months old. And how did it come about? I suppose the first thing is that the same stigma, lack of products, lack of information, lack of conversation is happening in the US. Mm-hmm. Actually, outside of Asia, it's the fastest growing market. Quite scarily, I think 40% of US women wash inside the vagina. So it's even higher than the 33% here. And really, Sephora are a phenomenal retailer who are wanting to change the conversation. And for me, partnering with retailers that want to come on the journey with us, that believe in my vision around normalizing the conversation, but also completely changing the existing category, is the most important thing. And they've been a phenomenal partner. And so I already had relationships with them. I'd launched brands into them before, and so I knew what a phenomenal partner they were, but they also really back startup brands, particularly female-founded brands. And we were the first ever British body care brand, also catering for intimate skin that they'd ever launched. And we launched across half of their estate, both in stores and online across the US.
Wow.
So it's
That's
brilliant.
Some coverage.
Yeah. Very
well done to you.
Thank you.
So we've got Boots and Beyond. We're in Sephora over the seas. What's next for Luna Daily?
So I suppose from a retail perspective, my big vision is that we make it as easy as possible for women and people with vulvas to access our great products. And so that means continuing to partner with brilliant retailers. We're also going to be launching Sephora UK this month, now that we're in October. That's scary. And so really continuing to partner with the best retailers in the world. From an innovation perspective, we've got a phenomenal pipeline of products next year. So without revealing too much, you'll see us continue to bring products in those key life stages for women, so to cater for women through all stages of womanhood. There are so many underserving categories and a lack of products. So we've got some phenomenal products launching next year. And honestly, continuing to do more of what we're doing in terms of driving in terms of normalizing conversations and education. So continuing to build out, how do we better serve our customers in terms of education content. We've got a really exciting campaign next month that I probably can tell you about, actually, because if this is coming out next month. So we partnered with an amazing agency called Joan Creative, and the campaign we're launching next month is called Vulva Therapy. And so we've worked with an exposure therapist to basically help to destigmatize and kind of unpick, where does the stigma around this word vulva come from? Why are we embarrassed to say it? Why do we not use it? Why do we use words like fanny and foof and front bottom and all the other ridiculous terms? And essentially you can call our vulva therapy hotline. So it's 0800 VULVA in the US and 0800 LUNA in the UK. Weirdly, I think vulva was taken in the UK. And basically you can phone up our hotline. And we've worked with our medical team, so our gynecologist, but also an exposure therapist to sort of help you, destigmatize. And so my favorite one is one of the exercises you do is imagine you're in a park. Imagine you're in the park, and you're looking after your friend's dog, and your friend's dog is called Vulva, and so the dog runs off in the park, and so you're like rigid with fear because the park is really busy, and you basically have to shout across the park like Vulva, Vulva, and you're just mortified, but the dog's gone, you can't find the dog, and eventually the dog comes back and you're, oh my God, thank God. You put the dog on the lead, everyone turns around and life carries on. And okay, it was fine, nothing bad happened. Okay, yeah, it was a bit embarrassing, you felt embarrassed, but actually why were you embarrassed? It's just a word. VULVA. And that's just one of the techniques the exposure therapist we've worked with on has pulled together. And so we've got an amazing campaign. It's going to be the hotline, it's going to be across social, there's an education platform, as well as some out-of-home media, which we've never done. And I'm pretty sure it's the first time the word vulva will ever be on a billboard, which would be an amazing, achievement. And so you're getting the scoop on that, Kelly, because that is launching next month.
Well, that's dishy. I like that. I've got an exclusive. I'll keep that. Do you know how difficult it's going to be to keep to myself now? I will keep that. I will keep that in the vault. It's very exciting. I look forward to seeing vulva in big text on a billboard, and I will think of you. I want to be able to signpost people if they aren't aware of Luna Daily. We are going to be working in collaboration on a lovely giveaway throughout Menopause Awareness Month, but this will go out slightly later. So for those people that might have missed it, how can they find Luna Daily?
So from a social perspective, we're Luna Daily Official, Luna_Daily_official. So we're on all of the normal social channels. Me personally, I'm quite active on LinkedIn because I'm a big believer that, as the face of the brand, that's where I can have an impact on kind of a wider community, particularly of our age group. If you want to go buy Luna Daily, you can either shop via lunadaily.com or through, in the UK, Boots is our key retail partner here. And also on our website, we've got a wealth of information. It's a hub of resources, some downloadable content if that's what is helpful to you. But also just, on our social channels, a big, similar to you guys, like a big part of, the content we put out is to try and just help provide education and normalise conversation.
And I think you're doing it marvellously.
Thank you.
Katy, you've taught me lots and lots of things. The one about soap has absolutely blown my mind, that it's basically like rubbing bleach on ourselves. So I'll go and think about that the next time I start showering myself with soap and stuff.
Yeah. Or just use Luna Daily instead.
Or just use Luna Daily, absolutely. I'll be a walking advertisement. Thank you for taking the trip to be here. You're always welcome up north. All the very best with the Boots launch and worldwide. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.